I'm a believer that if people know the why behind what we say, that's going to stick with them more. We're not just saying things. There's a basis. There's a research backing for all of this information that we provide. And that changes because just nutrition and health is a pretty new science, generally speaking. And so it is going to change over time. So we try to bring what is the latest research and what we have found to be the best research, the most sound. And so we're hopeful that when people know that why, and what I feel is really important about Walk Kansas is that intrinsic motivation. Once you are more active and you start to feel better, there's nothing that can motivate you more than that.
Kansas State University's Walk Kansas, an 8-week health and wellness program, begins March 22nd and runs through May 16th. In addition to the physical component, Walk Kansas also features webinars, weekly newsletters, and additional resources to help participants reach their individual and team goals. On today's Sound Living, the educational side of Walk Kansas. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wichman. Walk Kansas State leader and Northeast Area Family and Consumer Sciences Specialist Sharolyn Jackson discusses the 4 webinars that will be presented during this year's event. Sharolyn, registration is officially open for Walk Kansas 2026, and one of the questions you get a lot of times is, what do I get for my $10?
That's right. We're pretty proud that we've kept this at $10 now for quite a while. So we feel like you get quite a bit for that fee. It's, first of all, the access to our new online system. And inside the system, your team or you as the individual has the virtual trails that you can select. Those include things from walking to the 8 Wonders of Kansas and learning about those. You can visit on the other trails also points of interest or historical locations. And along that trail, you unlock waypoints that explain the different things that if you really were walking, that's what you'd be seeing and what the significance is. And then we also have a weekly newsletter that goes out. It includes articles about various physical activity topics, maybe some stretches and exercises that you can try, information about basic nutrition, and we're really focusing on that Mediterranean eating style and a nutritious recipe. And I have been testing some of those, so hopefully I have some good ones this year. Another thing that we've added the last couple of years are webinars, and so I'd like to tell you a little bit about those.
Yeah, the webinars are really kind of catching on in terms of really being able to go more in depth with some of these things.
Exactly. And so we've got 4 webinars set up for this year. The first is going to be on April 1, and our friends over in kinesiology are going to be presenting that on Energize Your Workday, Movement and Nature for Focus and Vitality. So they've been doing a lot of research about how movement affects mental health, physical health, how being in nature impacts that as well. Our overall mental health specifically, and Emily Maley and Gina Benzani have been really good partners for us, and so they're going to be presenting, and again, a lot of this is research that they're engaged in at K-State.
Go a little bit more in detail, because we talk about, just being energized, and that's one of the things that we get from just some moderate walking, right?
That's right, and they're going to go into some of the science behind that. Why does a walk revive you more than a nap when you feel tired? How does regular exercise contribute to your productivity, either at your workplace or at home? How can you weave some of that physical activity throughout your day? Those are some kind of key things they're going to cover and explain, why that is and what's the science behind it.
One of the things I've been seeing talks about getting outside in the morning especially, but just getting outside because, like you mentioned, the environment has an impact. The sun has an impact on how we feel.
Right. The sun, you can feel a breeze on your face. It kind of depends on, Kansas, we're somewhat weather dependent, but we are going to be seeing some nicer days here, and how that just really lifts your mood and lifts your spirit. Kind of has the opposite effect sometimes when the weather's dreary, but you can still get some of that effect by exercising and getting activity indoors because of exerting and getting those endorphins and those things going to where it improves your overall mood and outlook.
And sometimes just getting up from your desk can be energizing, right?
Exactly. And that kind of leads us into our next webinar, which is on April 15. This one's titled Wiggle While You Work, and it's going to be a fun kind of an experiment of a webinar. So I'm recruiting some of our agents to help me, and we're going to turn on the camera on Zoom, and we're going to lead those that are participating in some different activities. And these are things that you can do at your desk, things like some chair yoga, some stretching. We know a lot of us spend quite a bit of time on Zoom, rather than just sitting there, of course, this is with your camera off, of course, but rather than just sitting there, I like to keep some hand weights close by and use those, or some stretch bands. And so we'll go through what are some things you can do on Zoom so you're not just sitting there, and look at ways that you can break from sitting all day. And I think it'll be a fun session for us as well as everybody out there. And we'll actually do some activity over the noon hour that day and then have some little giveaways. I'm going to draw some names from those participating that day, and we'll send those out to people.
Well, you're right. We do spend a lot of time at our desks in front of a computer. So anything we can do that makes us feel like I'm doing this, but maybe not everyone can see me.
Yeah, you have to use some good common sense. You're not going to want to do these things if you do see the public quite a bit. But a lot of people are maybe back at a desk or a cubicle, and they can certainly add some of these activities throughout their day.
And it's really just kind of thinking about, okay, how can I move more at work? Is that kind of part of this too?
Right. And some things that you can do to give you like some cues, things like moving your trash can to the opposite end of the room, or using a printer that's maybe down a hallway, anything that's going to get you up instead of just sitting all the time. So we'll talk about a lot of those little things and just how to weave more activity into the day.
I like the idea of having some hand weights handy, because that's something that you easily could do while you're on a Zoom.
Yeah, very easily.
The third webinar is going to be talking about good gut health.
That's right. And we're going to learn from one of our agents, Chelsea King in Johnson County. Chelsea is a registered dietitian and has a lot of expertise in this area. She's going to go over how the health of your gut plays a real role in your overall well-being, and why it's often overlooked as a contributor to illness and disease. And so it can influence a lot of things, like your immune function, to autoimmune diseases, obesity, chronic diseases, and more, and look at why that gut health is so powerful. In addition to that, we know that the gut and the brain have a direct line for back and forth communication, so which is why your gut health also impacts your mental and your physical health. So she's going to go over a lot of those reasons why it's important, but also then how you can improve your own gut health. And one of those things starts really with increasing our fiber consumption, which in traditional Western diets, where it's associated with higher chronic disease and increased risk of mental health illness compared to those who follow the Mediterranean diet, which is what we focus on for Walk Kansas. And so she'll talk about fiber, also probiotics, prebiotics, and some other keys to good health, things like regular exercise, eating less sugar and artificial sweeteners, reducing stress, getting better sleep. A lot of those things factor into what we promote through Walk Kansas as well.
That's a good point, because this is really a well-rounded program that covers everything that impacts our well-being, right?
Right. It's not just about physical activity. It's everything's connected. And I think just this particular topic about good gut health shows you how it is all connected in lots of different ways. We're talking about it a lot more. I think we've known about the importance of it, but now it's coming up in other places as well.
And we have the science, too. We always have that research-based information.
That's right. There is a lot of science behind the reasons to promote good gut health.
And then you'll round out the series with kindness at work. That's
right. And, it seems kind of like, well, that's a no-brainer. We know how important kindness is. But I want to just give kudos to one of our agents, Lisa Newman, in the Central Kansas District. And she's one that I really identified that this is something we needed to talk more about and foster more in our relationships in general. She and Elaine Johannes, who's our Kansas Health Foundation Distinguished Professor for Community Health, created a really good publication about Kindness Matters. And Elaine is going to focus a little bit more on kindness at work and why that's important. But we see kindness as a simple virtue, but research shows us that it's a whole lot more than that. Because when you act in kindness, your body and your mind benefit significantly. We don't think about kindness as having a health benefit, but studies show that kindness can boost the immune system, lower our blood pressure, improve our mood, and even increase longevity. And so that's pretty powerful stuff. So I think it's going to be interesting to learn more about that and how that practicing kindness, whether it's at the workplace or whether it's just in general, wherever you have relationships with others, and how important that can be and how powerful that can be.
Yeah, we think of kindness as being something that is good for someone else, but it's also good for us.
It's good for the giver and the receiver.
In terms of access to the webinars, how does that all work?
The access is given to anyone who registers for Walk Kansas. The webinars are all over the noon hours on Wednesdays, and we'll open the room at noon, start at about 12:10, and hope to wrap up by about 10 till 1.
And then there's also the archives. So for your $10, you're getting all of this, and as well as access to past webinars.
You have at least 5 years of newsletters, and I think this is year 3 or 4 that we've done webinars. So there's quite a bit there.
Because we've added such an educational component to Walk Kansas over the last probably 5 to 10 years, how does that help people maybe stay motivated for the walking portion or the exercising and fruits and vegetables section?
I'm a believer that if people know the why behind what we say, that's going to stick with them more. You know, we're not just saying things. There's a basis. There's a research backing for all of this information that we provide. And that changes because just nutrition and health is a pretty new science, generally speaking. And so it is going to change over time. So we try to bring what is the latest research and what we have found to be the best research, the most sound. And so we're hopeful that when people know that why, and what I feel is really important about Walk Kansas is that intrinsic motivation. Once you are more active and you start to feel better, there's nothing that can motivate you more than that. And so hopefully, we just want to get people out and moving. We want to engage them and can provide some more information that can be helpful. It's not all of this is going to appeal to everyone, but there might be a little nugget here and there that really catches someone's attention that they can apply. Even though it's a lot of information, there's something there that's going to speak to each person, hopefully.
And because this is an 8-week program, it really keeps things moving as you look forward to what's next.
That's right. And some of our local units also plan some events and activities locally. We are doing a focus on Walk to Work Day, which is April the 3rd. And we're going to be doing an activity or event here on campus to observe that. And I know some of our local units are as well. So we're just trying to get some enthusiasm going, get people up and moving, and realize, we're not just saying this because it's fun. It is fun, should be fun, but it's also very much research-based.
Walk Kansas can be done as an individual or as a team, and there is really some research that shows the benefits of taking part and being either an individual or a team.
There is, and for some people, they just want to participate on their own. That's perfectly fine. They can be a team of one. But we've also learned over the years of doing Walk Kansas that most of our teams, over half of them, form at the workplace. And if you think about it, that's not surprising because we spend a lot of time with the people that we work with. And that's a great place to have someone that motivates you and encourages you. So it can be something that helps people bond with their coworkers and their colleagues as well. And so workplace teams are just a natural, but you can also have teams that are part of a faith-based community or an organization you belong to, or some neighbors or your family that may be here, maybe even in a distance. And so we have people from all over the world, basically, that can participate in Walk Kansas. And so it's forming that support network, however you want to do that, whatever works for you.
Really what we're looking for here is something that will really help us stay healthy for our lives.
That's right. And to know that you can always improve your physical health. Any kind of movement is going to look different as we get older. We're not going to do the same kinds of things, but as we get older, also the need for doing some strengthening activities is much greater than it is when we're younger. And so that's another thing that we talk about through our newsletters and that we promote is those days of strengthening activities, at least 2 days per week. And we also have programs that address that with our Stay Strong, Stay Healthy classes that are offered through Extension. So it's a lifelong thing, and it's going to look different as we progress through different stages of life. But there's always some kind of physical activity, movement that we can do. We even have nursing homes that participate where the staff there help folks that are even in wheelchairs to get a little bit of activity, and they love being part of Walk Kansas. So it's a very adaptable program. It's fun. We hope you'll join us. We feel like we've got a lot to provide, and hopefully there's something there that'll connect with each participant.
That's Walk Kansas State Leader and Northeast Area Family and Consumer Sciences Specialist Sharolyn Jackson. Registration is now open at walkkansasonline.org. The cost is $10 per participant for the 8-week health challenge, which includes access to the online tracking system and program materials. You through high school can participate for free, and optional T-shirts are available for purchase. To learn more, go to walkkansas.org. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wichman. and this is the K-State Radio Network.